Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, John Howard Steele. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting. I'm so grateful to have you here today. You've written a wonderful new book, Cage Lion, Joseph Pilates and His Legacy. A great book. I knew the minute it came through my desk that we had to have you on. A number of my friends and people I know just love the practice and the study of Pilates, the exercise craze that has taken over the world. But there's a man behind that wonderful practice and study, and his name is Joseph Pilates. And you not only studied Pilates for 60 years, you know the man and studied under him for a number of years. So that's great. Share with the audience, so what even brought you to the study of Pilates?
Oh, what brought me to Pilates, there are two things. What brought me to Pilates and what brought me to write a book. What brought me to Pilates was an insistence by my mother, who did go to Pilates and absolutely adored it. And this was back in the early 1960s. Mm-hmm. What brought me there was her insistence that I go to deal with a chronic stiff neck that I had. Mm-hmm. And that would have been actually a routine thing, except I didn't trust my mother's judgment about anything. And I thought this was, I thought Joseph Pilates was a quack or some kind of, my mother fell for that kind of stuff and was always out in front with all these crazy things, crazy people. That she should have lived in Northern California, but she didn't. She lived in New York. But so I finally gave in and said, I'll go. And I went. She made the appointment, and I went. And I met, as I describe in the book, I met Joseph Pilates right outside the staircase up to the floor on which his gym was. Mm-hmm. And we both looked at each other. He was in his 80s, about the age I am now. Wow. And I was in not even 30. And we both had come from two completely different worlds. We both looked at each other, I think, with incredible disdain. At least that was my feeling. I mean, who is this guy? Wearing shorts, nothing else. And he looked at me dressed up in my Brooks Brothery kind of preppy, lawyery, New York City, hotshot young guy outfit and thought, oh my God, I got to start with this, spoiled brat. And that's how we, I think, encountered each other the first few minutes. Yeah. It changed radically during the course of that first hour.
Yeah. But I was amazed, John, to hear how your ass got whooped by. Because you say, hey, I'm pretty athletic here. This is going to be pretty easy. But it wasn't as easy as it looked. I mean, you run through the series of exercises that he walked you through, and you found that it really, took a toll. And it was an interesting first experience you had.
It sure was. And it wasn't easy. Mm-hmm. And it's now, 60 years later, almost 57. It's still not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be easy. But on the other hand, it's not hard. In other words, what Joe did to me that first day doesn't happen to people today, ever. They all go to studios and they're treated much more gently than he treated me. Mm-hmm. I think it took, I wrote in the book, I questioned whether he was testing me the first time. Yeah. And if I'm right about his attitude toward me at that time, he sort of wanted to make it very, very difficult on me to see if I had what he thought would be necessary to stick with it, and also necessary for him to waste his time at his age.
Yeah.
So it's not that anymore. But the thing about Pilates, and the thing about your friends who love it, and you will love it if you do it, I promise, is that it isn't easy. It requires concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what distinguishes it from so many other things, that you lose yourself in the concentration of it. It doesn't come naturally. And as I say, I've been doing it all these years. I have a reformer in the next room, and I do know the routine absolutely cold, but you can't watch television, you can't read a book, you can't listen to a podcast, the radio, if you really want to get something out of it.
Yeah.
And once you do concentrate on it, which is essentially concentrating on your body and how you move, you'll get a benefit that I can't even articulate, but I try in the book. It's very hard.
Yeah, what I'm getting from what you wrote and your experiences is really connecting deeply with your body. And I, like you mentioned, you go to the gym, you're running on the treadmill, you're reading a book, you're thinking, I'm getting exercise done here, but you're not really listening to your body and what's going on with it right now. Where are you at with it?
Well, you're totally right about that, Christina. You're not. And once you start to listen to your body and focus on it and try to understand what you're doing to make any movement, just touch your nose. Well, it's easy. You don't think about it. Bring your hand, touch your nose. But then start to think about your muscles, start to feel them moving. And the more you feel that and get in touch with that, the more you get in touch with how your body works. So when you're walking down this, people ask me, well, how often do you do Pilates? It's always that kind of thing. You do it 3 times a week, 4 times a week? And the answer that I've come to give, having gone through these Zoom process, is I do it every minute of my waking hour. I'm actually trying to sit straight because I'm feeling what it takes to sit straight. And I'm trying to keep my head straight, and I'm trying to use my hands and when I get up or sit down or move. Once you start to get in touch with this, you don't have to consciously think about it, but your body is somehow thinking about it.
So it becomes a lifestyle more than anything.
Yeah. And it's not something you work at. It's something that just happens. It's great in that sense. You feel it all the time.
Yeah. And it's what could be better than getting in touch with your body? Then what your body needs and when things are out of whack, and it could be anything. Disease is usually things being out of ease in your body. And if you're more connected to it, you're going to begin to realize when a disease is starting to take place. Yeah.
You when you're having a good day or a bad day. Boy, I'm really loose today, or and athletes are totally in tune with that. A guy playing tennis competitively, or golf, or the days when everything just feels right inside are always going to be better days. And they'll tell you when they lose a big match in tennis or in golf, hell, he was great today, or she was great today, and I just didn't have it. And that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And often it is a mind thing. It starts with your mind being focused first, whatever you're doing. And I hear that from people who are Olympians. They're like, they're really, where do I want to be? They focus on the end result, but also all the things that go into it. Their mind is the first thing, is where it all starts.
They got to get in what I write in the book, in the zone.
In the zone.
And they do. I mean, they have to. You can't hit a baseball coming at you at 100 miles an hour, or a tennis serve coming at you at that speed, or even in hockey. You can't do that if you're actually thinking about it. You have to react to it without thinking. And that is where I thought I really had to write to kind of convey what Joe was trying to get across to people.
Yeah.
Not to think about things, do them.
Yeah. You mentioned something interesting when I would read that, because many years ago I was studying dance, and the first 3 months were hell. I could not get the routine. I could not get the choreography. I was starting to study one-on-one with the teacher, and he just said to me, you know what's going on is you're in your head, you're not in your body. You're thinking so much about every move that you're stopping your body from being. And he actually, what's good for me is I'm a kinetic learner. So he got behind me and he said, close your eyes and feel where I'm putting you. And so we did that, and I got it like that. And he said, that's what you need to do every time. You need to be in your body, not in your head.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard. I play the flute, and I take lessons every week. And I would say half the lesson every week is talking to me about getting out of my head and into the music. And when I was writing the book, I mean, I learned, just to back up a minute, I learned so much about why I wrote the book by writing the book. I mean, and so much about Pilates by writing the book. It was like I wrote the book to find the answer to these questions. I mean, people think you just sit down and type away and the book comes out. No, the book presented challenges and questions. And one of the big challenges that I think a lot of Pilates professionals are responding to, what is Pilates? Why do your friends like it so much? It's just exercise. I mean, isn't it? You just go and you do these things and you sweat or you don't sweat, or you get aerobic or you don't get aerobic. And what's so good about that? And so that was a struggle. And trying to find that out was very difficult. And I fortunately came across the psychiatrist at the University of Chicago, Sixten Mihaly, and his book in the 90s called Flow. And when I read Flow, I said, oh, that's it. That's it. It's this getting into the zone. And so by writing the book, I started to answer the question, one of the questions I had, which was, what's so good about this? Why do people like it? Why is it so addictive? I had other questions like, why did I stay involved with it? And not only just to do it, but to be part of this whole project to keep it alive. Why did I do that? And so I had to deal with that. And, you know,
how much did your personal relationship play a part with that? Because you did also build a relationship outside the studio with Joseph Pilates and his wife. Did that play a part in you wanting to continue his legacy? Yeah,
I think it played a lot bigger part than I gave it credit for before I wrote the book. And yeah, there was something very important to me about Joe's attitude toward life and his survival instincts and his manliness in a good way. I don't mean in macho kind of way, in a very good way. And I was so steeped in my own culture and my own upper middle class life and the expectations everyone had for me, and yada yada, could go on for hours. But I was so steeped into that that there was no way out that I can imagine today looking back. But Joe was the way out. I saw how he behaved. And if when I'm describing walking with him down the street, that was, it was very important to me. It wasn't just to walk down the street. It was to see and actually get influenced by how he conducted that walk. Why did he drag me along like that? How did he maneuver in New York City? How oblivious was he to everyone's expectations? He took care of himself, didn't bother anyone else really. He got where he was going. He kept it he wanted to do it as an exercise. And, it was very important to kind of see his anarchy in a way.
Yeah.
It helped me to be a bit
strong.
Anarchist, if that's the word. I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, he definitely had a presence about him that was very different, and sometimes it sounded abrupt, and maybe some people would say a bit rude. Like when you first mentioned coming in, a woman came in and said, "I want you to get my tummy flatter." He's like, "Nope, don't want to see you." Because he was like, I want people to focus on bettering themselves with their body and not just coming here to lose weight. It's not a lose weight program. So he wouldn't have anything to do with her until she came back and said, okay, I want to work on me and my body. It's like, okay, sit down. And then he's like, no, I'm ready to work with you.
Right. He was incredibly rude. I mean, talk about, having just the worst mannerisms for inducing clients to come into something which didn't have the reputation that it has today, where people say, oh, it's great, give it a couple of days, you'll love it. And there was no one around to say that. And you took a look at that equipment in the studio, you said, what on earth am I doing here? This is... So, and meanwhile, you had him, and only him, abrupt, completely disinterested in anything you had to say or complain. Gee, my shoulder hurts a lot, or I can't raise my arm. Man, get down on the machine and get to work.
Yeah. Now tell me, I remember a scene where you talked about the shower where he was very pertinent about scrubbing afterward. Well, why was that important for the exercise process?
I think it was, in the sense, it's a very good question. Why did it fit into everything else? A lot of people are always curious about the shower thing. Why was it important? Because his focus on taking care of yourself was the whole thing. It wasn't giving you 45 minutes of exercise. It was teaching you to do things better in your life, to enjoy it more, to be healthier, to be happier, to be more confident. That was what was at the heart of Joseph Pilates. To think that it was only, I just go in and get a sweat and get my aerobics up and lose a few pounds, and that had nothing to do with it, really. That was the after effect. What he was concerned with was you, and not the you that you think of, the you that goes to work and tries to make money and raises the you that lives from your skin inwards. And the shower was just one example of taking care of yourself. And I'll answer the question you're not asking, but everyone else does. Do you still use a stiff? Yes.
You do. Awesome. You know what impressed me is because I often will run to the gym and then, during lunchtime, I'll run, and I'll get my workout in, be totally wet, and I'll just put on my clothes, throw on some deodorant because I don't have time to shower, and I go back to work and I'm like, run. The same thing after work. And I'm thinking to myself, that idea of showering, taking time for your body and saying, you know what, I'm going to take an extra 15 minutes. I'm going to scrub down. I'm going to take care of my body, get out all the impurities and sweat. It sounded like a good idea and something I should add if I run to the gym. Don't just throw it in the middle of the day and run back to work. How you just ruin the 45 minutes, half hour, whatever you spend trying to give your body something by now rushing back to work and stress.
Yes, I'm sure it's better than nothing. There's no question.
Yeah.
Any exercise. I mean, bowling is better than watching television. Golf is better than, gardening is better. So any exercise is really good. Mm-hmm. But when you can combine that with this sort of getting in the zone for a few minutes, when you can combine that with really a dynamic meditation. Yoga is very similar in that sense. It's a meditation. It really is. It's not sitting still and all that, but you're in another zone, another state. When you sit down and play the piano for an hour, you're somewhere else. You excuse me, you've done something in your mind. You can kind of analogize to cleansing it or rewiring it, I don't know what it is. A neurologist may be able to use better terms, but the fact is you're revitalizing it, you're recharging it, you're letting all those little electrical things calm down, that you had all your worries about paying the bills and whether your dog's going to survive and all these things, and they go away.
Yeah.
And so all those neurons and little electrical chemical things, they go to rest. And what comes back in is a pleasurable kind of feeling. Oh, well, this feels pretty good doing this exercise. Ooh, that's nice. And when you're playing the piano and you're listening to music or playing the flute or violin or whatever it is, the pleasure comes in and it sort of washes your head out, your brain. And that's what I think is at the heart of all this. It's not the exercise, which is great. Because of the stretching and the flexibility and the spine and all that. But it's a means to an end, which is the end is your relationship to your movement, to your body.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. And there's so many fascinating stories to get to know Joseph Pilates deeper and his exercise, which wasn't always known as Pilates. It used to be called
Contrology.
Contrology. Interesting. Which is really the control and understanding of your body and how it moves through space.
Well, that would be the controlology is science. It's the science of control. And of course, Joe adopted the name. He was good at that. He did want to make it scientific, but he didn't have any background in science or any real way to do that. So the name stuck for him, but when we wanted to modernize it and he was gone, we just started calling it Pilates.
Yeah, and it's stuck ever since. Yeah, and so everyone, find out more about Joseph Pilates today. Is it look good? Can you see it good? Yeah. Go get the book. Well, where can everyone get a copy, John?
Where can they get it?
Yeah,
you know where? Amazon.
Everywhere, Amazon and everywhere. Yeah, go.
The local bookstore. I mean, if you can go to your local bookstore and say, and wait a day or so, they'll get it for you. Ingram has it ready for them. And
Yeah.
get it. It's a good read, isn't it?
It is. It is a really good read. And it'll get you to understand the method, understand the great man who created it, who wanted to help people get in touch with their body and get a better health system for themselves. Because people keep saying, I want to lose weight, I want to feel healthy. Well, this is the best way to do it. One of the best ways to do it, to get in touch with your body. And I'm so grateful, John, that you wrote this book. Thank you so much for coming to share today your great book and your wisdom today of Pilates. Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. I love talking about it. It was hard writing, but it's a lot easier talking. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me. I hope your audience likes it.
I know.
And
and you have a website. Can you have johnhowardsteele.com? Can they get the book there too?
Yes, there's a button you can click through. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to go to Amazon, one click less. I mean, how hard is that? But and you can find out a little more about the book on the website. Although Amazon now has over 60 5-star praise quotes, so you can find out a lot there, whether it's something you would enjoy reading or not.
You certainly will. You absolutely will. I guarantee it. And then go out right afterward or before and take your first class if you haven't already. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good weekend. Nice to talk to you, Christina. Bye.
You're welcome. Take care. If you like this episode, please share. To hear more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to lifeunscriptedradio.com. To become a guest or participate in paid sponsorship, email us at christina@lifeunscriptedradio.com.